Hey everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of Fast Charging with BnB. We're starting a very special series. We're doing Is Doomed. This is part 2. Part 1 was Lucid. You should check that out. Today we're going to ask Hyundai, are they doomed? I'm Brian.
And I'm Bear.
Yeah, and it's a little bit frozen there for a second, but that's all right. It's all back in action now. So let's talk about Hyundai. They've got some EVs. Have you ever seen one?
Have I ever seen one? Yes, I have. Are EVs in general or the Ioniq 6?
Well, no, just the EVs in general.
Yeah, I've seen a couple EVs here and there. And I'll tell you what, I happen to have seen, I probably saw about 10 Ioniq 6s this past weekend. All at the Hyundai dealerships. Sitting there with $10,000 markups. But there was 10 of them. It makes you kind of wonder.
Starting at $45,500, it's more expensive than the Model 3 now, without the $10,000 markup. And I don't think it qualifies for the tax credit.
It can't.
No.
It cannot.
Because it's entirely made overseas.
Yes. One of those North Korean cars, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about the engineering of the car.
Sure.
What do you think of it? You've got hands-on experience with checking them out.
Yeah, the styling is a little different. I do like the fact that it's brought a new shape in there. It's kind of it looks like a Porsche at certain times. It looks like a Mercedes CLA at other times. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting new look, just like the Ioniq 5 was. Though I still think the Ioniq 5 resembles a Pacer or a Gremlin, like a modern day version. But I think this is okay. It's a little weird at first, but it's got the double wing on it. Inside of it, I didn't get into one. Well, actually, I stuck my head in one. It looked okay on the inside. It still has the idiotic door handles that present themselves always. So whenever they're unlocked, you can see that someone left their car unlocked. Because I'm gonna, if they sell a lot of these cars, I'm gonna start going around and just finding unlocked Ioniq 6s and 5s and Kia EV6s and just steal everything in there. Because
it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it is. I think I could probably do really well.
Do these have a frunk yet?
I do believe they don't.
Yeah.
I did not check, but I can't imagine why that they would. I think the last time I saw anything on the front on the Ioniq 6 was a negative. I could be wrong, and we did not pop the hood, but I can't imagine why they would change it. The EV6 has nothing. The Ioniq 5 has nothing. I can't see them changing it. But I hope the EV9 does. There's got to be space in that one for something. Maybe a cup holder underneath the
base model,
hood.
225 horsepower, performance all-wheel drive, 320 horsepower. I mean, it's peppy, but that's...
Yeah, it's not so much. I mean, that is a rear-wheel drive to get that 361. You have to lose a lot in order to get the range. If you start upgrading, of course, you get the dual motor, you're going to get less range. Which is interesting because on like a Model 3 or a Model Y, if you get a single motor, you're getting less range. And if you go to the dual motor, you get more range.
What would you give this on a scale of 1 to 10 for the engineering?
There's going to be a couple factors in this car that just makes it lose points because I know it's going to perform exactly the way the Ioniq 5 does. And since I have Ioniq 5, there is some engineering in there which there's no sense of reason of why these things happen. So unfortunately, because of those things, they go to a 5. And if they went through and fixed some of these obnoxious things like the door handles, and the other obnoxious thing is the iPedal, which you have to turn on every single time, and it doesn't work in reverse. And then my third kicker on this is when you're driving and you go underneath an underpass at 70 miles per hour. I found this out just 2 days ago. I knew that the screen dimmed because it thought it's nighttime because of the overpass, so it's very distracting to the eyes. It goes on and then drive 100 feet and it goes off. But the headlights and the taillights go on also. I was behind an Ioniq 5, I think it was yesterday morning, and it was in Vegas, and we go under an underpass, the taillights come on, 15 seconds later they go off. So that is part of their dimming of the screen, and that is just bad engineering. It should be set to 30 seconds or something before your screen dims and your
I feel like
headlights,
that's
taillights.
something that we solved in the 90s.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know it was ever a problem
Right.
of when that should come on and off.
Right.
So that
Also,
it's
yeah.
very disappointing engineering, things like that.
So I actually gave it a 7 because it is reasonably well built, reasonably competent. It's a major manufacturer with a serious effort. And while there's room for improvement in things like the frunk and the range and some of the little things, I still think it's pretty well done.
Yeah.
So I'm giving them a higher rating than you on that.
Yeah, and I will say some of the things I'm complaining about are little things. The door handles to me are not in the iDrive. Those are big to me. The frunk is because a lot of people don't use the frunk. The flashing of the light thing it's more of a
Obnoxious.
nuisance.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's a nuisance, but it's always there and it doesn't go away. I will say that the car is very well built, except for I have a rattle somewhere in the back, and I cannot figure it out. I've spent some time in my 5, and I cannot figure it out, and it becomes very frustrating. But every car I've had will have a rattle, so I can't really knock it for that. So,
Okay. So in terms of the demand, I've got this chart here.
oh, this is pretty.
Yeah, isn't that nice? This is showing the EV sales forecast. Because they don't have trucks, they don't have vans, but they have cars, and they have cars in more than one shape. What would you give them on a scale of 1 to 10 for how they're going to fare in terms of demand, especially if their prices adjust to match other cars?
How are they? You want a 1 to 10 number on
Yes, sir.
and 10 being the best?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna put them up pretty high. I'm gonna give them an 8 for demand.
I think that's very respectable. I just said 7 because we haven't seen the price drops yet. Hopefully they can drop the price to match the other competitors in this price war. And if they do, the market will absolutely buy these. It's a reasonably competent car in a good segment with a lot of room for growth. We discussed how Lucid's demand is going to be terrible because they're so expensive that the market is just not there.
Yeah, so let's talk about their profit margin. Do they have area to move?
Well, that's our next topic is cost control. So they don't break it out. We don't know what their electric vehicle margin is, but we know their entire margin is only 4%. And that's painful. Let's go to the 5. I'm going to click on the 5-year chart, and we can see the best time they've had was 8%, but mostly they're in the 4-ish range. And I think they are losing money on these because surely they're making money on the ICE cars, and this is pulling it down. I think their cost controls are not ideal, but they might be faring better than others. So for cost control, I gave them a 4 because I don't think they're there yet. I think they're overpaying for too many components and they're unable to sell them at the price that they should be to make a profit. Your thought?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that, and of course I'm going to throw in a dealership jab. It's sad that the dealerships are going to make more profit on these cars than the manufacturer. And
So
this is probably something I can say in every episode that we're going to make of this, of X is doomed. So,
yeah,
but this is the situation. I've been into the Hyundai dealerships, and they are asking stupid markups, and they're going to be making more money than Hyundai will themselves.
that's very frustrating. So you said 4 also. Okay, pair of 4s. The next element is
Hard 8. Sorry, just came back from Vegas, so you know.
That's right. Next element is cash on hand, and I'll just tell you, they've got 25 billion cash on hand. And if you go back to the early 2000s, they only had like 5 to nothing on hand, and this number picked up around 2013 and has been just strong ever since in the 20-ish billion range.
Yeah, what happened? Because I mean, they went for there's that weird spike in there. Looks like they sold something and then they bought something back. And then
Hyundai is a lot more than a car company, and
Yes.
I don't know if this only counts automotive.
Ooh, okay.
But yeah, so it could be all their other segments too. And it could be that their drain on margin is from non-automotive endeavors, but I'm just not sure. But I would say, for me, that cash on hand, I'm going to give that a 7, because although 25 billion is a monumental pile of cash, they've got a lot of factories to retool. They've got a lot of everything to retool, and 25 billion will only get you 5 or 6 factories, and they probably need to overhaul everything.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind here is that their cash on hand almost a year ago to the minus 2 months was 20 billion. So now go back to where we are now, that has only increased $5 billion. Now granted, I would be happy with $5 billion in my pocket right now. I would need a very large pocket also. But a difference in 10 years of only $5 billion in cash on hand, because there's something in here that we're not seeing that happened in that we don't know about. It happened in 2011 and 2012, where they went from having 6 billion, 7 billion, 8 billion to having 15 to 20 billion in the bank, and it's stayed steady since then and grown not that much. So I wouldn't call them a cash making machine like Tesla's Model Y is and the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been steadily rising, but not a whole lot. So if you take out whatever that bump was in that goes from December 2011 to March, you got your difference of $10 billion. They don't seem to have as much cash on hand. That may have been from a sale of something.
Yeah, and it could be that the cash is not piling up because they are investing it in these factories. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what'd you give them for cash?
I'm going to give them a 6 because there's something in here that's not well visible.
Not adding up. Okay, so the next question is their roadmap. So looking forward, Hyundai announced over a year ago, that they've stopped engine development and reassigned the engineers to EVs. More proof that that internal combustion's on borrowed time. And then the next article says Hyundai to build EV assembly and battery factory in the U.S. Now, this is a year ago now-ish. So that's going to help them get back into the EV credit for the IRA. And it's going to bring the production closer to home. It's going to hopefully closer to our home, So hopefully that will help. So that's part of their roadmap. And then this next one from Electric. Could Hyundai be a top 3 global EV producer by 2030? That's the plan. So they've got aspirations, but as of this one, they'd said they were going to spend $18 billion to increase EV production and exports, and a total to get their numbers up to 1.8 million EVs globally. But they have since updated it on this Fox Business News one, saying that they're looking to speed up even more. and their new outlay, $5 billion just for the factory outside Savannah. And yeah, they're accelerating the timeline, and they're now looking at not 1.8 million in 2030, but more like 3.5 million globally by 2030. So what do you think of the roadmap? On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think of that?
I think their roadmap, I like their roadmap because they're throwing in these new cars and these new models, and people are buying them. So I'm going to give them a 7.
Okay. I had given them a 6, but I'm going to update that to 7 because I agree with you. I'm a little bit concerned that they're, if it's $5.5 billion to build this factory in Savannah, that pile of 25 is going to be disappearing real quick. So let me get our scores, tally it up. We've got a 5, an 8, a 4.
Oh, you know what? We got to take
Yes?
a point. We're taking a point off for another point off for engineering. My wife is texting me. She's in the Ioniq 5 now, and she cannot get the port open.
You know what? Then I'm taking a point off too.
This is live Ioniq 5 support.
Painful. So compared to last week's Lucid, which got scored just 34 out of a possible 100 points, the Hyundai is at 60, and that is a little bit painful. Hyundai 60. Is Hyundai doomed? I think the answer is no.
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 I do not think that they are. No.
No. So that was that. So I should thank my Patreons who get early access, bonus content, all that good stuff. You know the deal. And your patrons would like to hear a word from you.
Oh, my Patreons are the best because I give them so little, and they're there for me, and that's what I appreciate. So
that's fair.
To help to get me up in the morning and get me behind the mic and maybe get a video out once a week. Sorry guys, Toro is kicking my butt, but we are super busy. But we'll get you some more videos outside of this, I promise.
Works for me. So we're gonna have this series will be ongoing for the next 3 weeks, every Tuesday and Wednesday at, I think we said 7 or 8 a.m., something like that. And so stay tuned for those. We've got 6 more manufacturers to cover in this series. Bear, thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Brian. We will be back shortly, like a week or so, but we're looking forward to this. This is going to be good.